Hey, welcome everyone to another exciting Game Thrifter episode. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a newer thing because I usually stick to the classic consoles, but I wanted to do some hidden gems for the Xbox One. A lot of people seem to like my Xbox One video that I did a while ago, and so I thought, hey, why not dig through my catalog and see if there is some great Xbox One games that maybe people aren't aware of, or maybe not enough people are aware of. I feel like it is an underrated platform. It got a lot of hate, and maybe deservedly so at certain points, but I also feel like it came into its own and has a fantastic library that deserves to be celebrated. So I wanted to do that, and I also wanted to ask you guys to subscribe and like the videos as well if you enjoy the content. I try to get these out as quickly as I can, and I have a blast recording them. So if you enjoy them, let me know. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started for some hidden gems on the Xbox One. So Deadpool is very popular right now, and back when this game came out, he wasn't as popular. I think this was right before the first movie, and so when the game came out and High Moon Studios did it, who had previously done like the Transformers games and things, they weren't really sure what to expect. The game didn't score incredibly high, but I played it on the Xbox 360 and I enjoyed it thoroughly. But it also came out remastered on the Xbox One, and I still find it to be a bit of a hidden gem because it really kind of nails the aesthetic of Deadpool as a character, and like almost right away you kind of get the humor and things like that. Also, the game itself switches up and is very self-aware. Like there's a level that's kind of a pixelated level, there's a lot of jokes, there's a lot of humor to it, there's a lot of breaking the fourth wall and things like that. So it is very much a Deadpool game, and I just find that not enough people really appreciate it or kind of have understand of it. And now that Deadpool is such a phenomenon with like the movies and things like that, I just feel like it's in a much better spot, and people can really kind of recognize and accept how good of a game this is. So, if you ever come across this game, Deadpool, on the Xbox One, it plays great, it looks great, and it's just probably one of the most fun games you can play. It's not the longest game in the world, but it's definitely one of the more fun games that you can play, and I highly recommend it. So there's been quite a few Transformers games throughout the years, but I feel like Transformers Devastation is a very good representation of a Transformers game that I would personally enjoy. Since I grew up in the 80s, I played with all like the Generation 1 Transformers and things like that. And this is more akin to that, like the actual cartoon. And I think that they did just a fantastic job with it. I think that's probably what I enjoy best about it, is you don't really see developers take the love and care for, property like this anymore. And the fact that they did such a good job really just goes to show you that they knew what they were doing, and they respected the actual players and gamers and the people who like have the nostalgia for this stuff. And so, I feel like it's a really, really solid game, and I also think that they nailed exactly what every kind of kid imagined the game to be if they grew up in that era, and it's a lot of fun to play as like your favorite characters, obviously, Grimlock, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, all the characters that you would know and love watching the cartoon, and they're all well represented here, which I think is fantastic. The gameplay is fun, and I think this is probably one that's out of print, but you can find it on disc, and it's just so highly underrated. I think partly because there were the great War for Cybertron game and Fall of Cybertron game, so this one kind of got lost in the shuffle, but it's amazing. Give it a try if you ever come across it. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, I know what you're thinking, and yes, this is a hidden gem. It went under the radar. What happened was, basically, after the Avengers game, which was a huge flop and was just really a bad game due to like the microtransactions and the way that they made it, like people wanted a single player experience, maybe co-op with your friends or something, but certainly not a money driven game with microtransactions and things like that. So people had a negative look when they first saw Guardians of the Galaxy, right? They thought, oh, here we go again. But trust me when I say Guardians of the Galaxy is a great game, single player, no multiplayer whatsoever, great story, great characters, really good story. In fact, it was such a good game that I played through it on Xbox, I played through it on PlayStation, I played through it on Xbox One, as well as Xbox Series X, because there's two different versions. And I just have to say, I always point to this game. Fantastic RPG. You will love this game if you just enjoy great things. You don't have to be like a big fan of the movies and things like that, because these are obviously different takes on the characters, but they really come into their own very quickly. And I feel like hardly anybody ever talks about this game, and it's like just one of my favorite games. I think it might have been my favorite game the year that it released, and I just think it's such a fantastic game and highly underrated, and it's very cheap. If you do come across it, pick it up. Such a fun experience, trust me. So next up is a very cool game called Onrush, and what I really like about this game is the fact that it was actually made by the developers who did the classic PlayStation MotorStorm games, right? So you might not have known that. It looks very similar to that, but the fun factor is like amped up to well beyond 10. It's just such a fun game to play. As you can see, if you're looking for a racing game that's very arcade-like, very over the top, listen, this isn't a Forza, this isn't a, Gran Turismo or something like that. This is like a over-the-top game, and realistically, sort of winning isn't the exact goal of the game either. So that's something that I think everybody should kind of take into consideration, is that, yeah, it's a racing game, but it's not the same type of racing game that you might be used to in the same aspect of like you might be used to, just being honest about it. It's just not the same type of game. It's not that game where you got to go, oh man, let me, beat this guy in a race or whatever. It's not like that at all. You have to really kind of just have fun with it and understand that it's not going to be that same type of style of racing. Once you get past that, it's a blast. I highly recommend it. It's something different and fresh, and I don't know a lot of people who even know about this game, but it is a hidden gem all the way. So not every game on this list is exclusive or console exclusive, which is obvious. Xbox One, every quote-unquote exclusive is also like on PC. I don't really count that. I'm a console guy. I collect my games, and so that's usually how I go about things. But this is a console exclusive, and that would be Quantum Break, one of the most underrated games that I have actually ever played. At the time, and listen, I'm real big into a lot of like the gaming news and the gaming sphere and things like that. And to be quite honest about it, this was really one of those games that was hurt by the fact that Xbox was going through a lot of issues at the time. They had kind of focused more on like the Kinect and stuff like that, and people weren't really into that. So when they actually came out with good games, a lot of the talk was on the resolution and oh, that game's 720p or this or that. So the games kind of went under the radar for a good portion of the generation. But I have to just be honest and say, hey, Quantum Break is such a fun game. It's got a fantastic cast. It's got great voice acting because of that, and it's such a fun like game to play through because it has such a great story to it and a great cast of characters. And you don't see that a lot. Microsoft wasn't taking a whole lot of chances on the single player type of games, but this is a really, really good one, and I highly recommend it. Keeping with the theme of underappreciated console exclusives for Xbox One, we have Sunset Overdrive, maybe my favorite game on the Xbox One. This was just such a fantastic game. The creativity was there, and coming from a studio that traditionally did, PlayStation exclusives like Ratchet and Clank, and of course the Marvel Spider-Man, and even like Spyro back in the day, I have to say, they did a really good job on this game. The weapons are fun, the story is fun, it looks great, it plays great. Just for being an Xbox One console exclusive, I feel like it's a game that not a lot of people talk about and is overlooked almost all the time, but is one of my favorites. And if you look at this and go, "Oh man, that looks fun," guess what? You're right on par for the type of person who this video is aimed at. Like, it's just a lot of fun, and it's crazy, zany, wacky, all the kind of buzzwords or whatever. And you know what? I really do think that Microsoft, I would have loved to seen a sequel from them on this. Obviously, that can't happen now because Insomniac Games is owned by Sony. But this game didn't get the love it deserved. And one of the reasons was, again, a lot of people were caught up in like resolution because it was a 900p game. It never did get an update. Even when the Xbox One X released, it's still stuck at 900p. But people really, for some reason, just beat that horse, over and over again. And I never understood it because it never interfered with the gameplay. It was fun. It was creative. It was just so much, you always have a smile when you play it. And I think that's what's great about this game. Highly recommended, and it's cheap. So, Ryse Son of Rome was a launch title for the Xbox One way back in 2013 from Crytek, and it really pushed what the Xbox One could do. This was actually the first game that I booted up on my Xbox One. I think we all have that game that we buy a new console for, and to be honest with you, like when I look back to the 360, I bought the Xbox 360 because I saw Gears of War playing on it, right? When I bought an Xbox One, I saw Ryse Son of Rome playing on it, and actually I saw some other games, namely like Titanfall, which looked incredible. But Ryse Son of Rome really kind of sold me on it as being like a true next generation machine, and it's just a fun game. It got a bad rap. I understand that it's not the most innovative game or anything like that, and people thought it was like full of QTEs. They weren't so much QTEs as kind of prompts, like you could fail them and you wouldn't have to like start over or anything like that. You just maybe would get hit or something. But at the end of the day, this is a fun game. It's a short game. You could beat it in about 6-7 hours, but there's enough there to warrant picking it up. And it's also a game that's relatively cheap. So, I highly recommend Ryse Son of Rome. It's one of those good looking games that still holds up even today, and I don't hear a lot of people talk good about it. So yeah, definitely one of the funner ones in my opinion, and worth picking up. Mafia Definitive Edition. This is sort of a weird pick for me because this is a remake of the original Mafia game, and it looks and plays fantastic on Xbox One. What else can I say? Mafia 2 was the first game in that series that I played, and I played it on the Xbox 360. I think Microsoft gave it away as a free title one time, and I just was like, holy cow, this is amazing. And then Mafia 3 came out, and I enjoyed that, especially like the music and the time setting of that. And the first Mafia game was hard to come by, and then they remade it, and it's just a lot of fun to play. It's really, really good. It's a game that I don't ever hear anybody talk about, and I usually don't talk up remakes and things like that, but this was just such a great game and such a fun game that I felt the need to kind of add it into being able to kind of play. So if you ever come across Definitive Edition of Mafia, I highly recommend it. Pick it up, play it, you won't regret it. Such a great game, and I think it's just probably one of the most underrated titles that I can think of in recent memory. So yeah, pick it up. It's been updated in in the way that it handles and things like that. So it's definitely an upgrade that's worthy. So Psychonauts 2 is a game that is fantastic. It's really just a phenomenal game. If you ever played the first Psychonauts game, you know what I'm talking about. It's got such a great story, and it's just one of those games that you play it and you're just like, wow. And the fact that this game is such the high quality that it is absolutely blows me away. And the game itself just goes on and on. It's like, and I think that's a good thing, right? It's one of those games where unexpectedly you get such a great quality of game, and the game length just is just there and pretty amazing to kind of think about, because this game originated as like a crowdfunded game, and it kind of just ended up being so much better than that. I think probably partly because Microsoft came into the picture and was able to by the company and put a little bit more money into the game. But yeah, it's just an amazing game. It's got a great story. The abilities are fun. Graphically, it looks stunning, and I just really think, people should give it a try, and, and let me know what you guys think. It's a little bit of everything. Platforming, it's got humor, it's got heart, it's got cool powers, just well worth giving it a try, and I highly recommend it. So closing out this list is a game called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan, and this is a Platinum Games made Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, and it's got a difficulty level to it that is, quite tough at times. And then at times, it's pretty easy. It does have a difficulty slider as well, so you could try it on like normal, easy, or hard mode. But for me, this is such an underrated game. Nobody really talks about it. Turtles games during the Xbox One era were, few and far between. We haven't really seen that many great ones or even that many good ones. But, this is one that'll probably run you a little bit. Probably the same cost as a new game nowadays would cost you to find. But I think well worth it. Clearly it's out of print and delisted in terms of digital release. But if you can come across it and you do happen to find it, I highly recommend it. It's got multiplayer, it's gritty, but got a really cool kind of art style to it, and it's Turtles, so what more can be said about it? It's just a lot of fun, and a game that I think didn't get a lot of hype or love at the time, but still an awesome game nonetheless. So there you have it, some awesome hidden gems for the Xbox One. I probably could have kept this video going on and on and on, but I had to wrap it up at some point. Trust me, there's a lot of really good games on the Xbox One, and yeah, obviously there's not a lot of exclusives or anything like that, but I feel like it's a good time to still collect for the Xbox One, as the discs are extremely cheap, and overall there's just a lot of quality content that came out towards the back end of the life, and also at the beginning of the life of the Xbox One. So yeah, there you have it. What are some of your favorite Xbox One games? Let me know down below. Once again, please subscribe and like the video, and I'll catch you next time. I hope you all have a great day.